As all NerdWire fans probably know, Star vs. the Forces of Evil has been my favorite trippy cartoon for a while now. And once Adventure Time ended, Star and Marco were the only cure for my Finn and Jake hangover. But while the AT series finale left me feeling satisfied, the Star series finale left me tons of unanswered questions. Even though I loved the way certain character arcs ended, there were a bunch of parts that made no sense. It felt like there should have been a few more episodes in there to help spread out some of that information, you know? But one of the best parts of open endings is being able to fill in some of the gaps with your imagination, so let's try to do that together. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and here are the 9 most unsettling questions raised by the Star vs. the Forces of Evil series finale. Before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our super nerd sponsor, Kevin Brown. Thanks to supporters like you, NerdWire lives to film another week. Want to give me all your money? Cool! There's a link to our Patreon in the description box, and if you click on it, you can choose whichever donation tier works for you. Empty wallet? Me too, dude. You can actually also help just by sharing your videos with your friends and engaging with our content. Now, on to the Star finale! Okay, before we go any further, if you haven't seen the episode, for the love of God, don't watch this video. Why would you even click a finale video if you haven't seen the finale? Spoilers, 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 spoilers! Number 9. How did Earth and Muni get cleaved? Show me the physics, damn it! I need answers! Let's quickly recap the ending of the show to get a better idea of how to answer this question as a whole. The Queens of Muni past and present get together to destroy magic once and for all by performing the whispering spell in the realm of magic itself. This kills all magic in the multiverse and seals the portals between dimensions, trapping each character in the dimension they belong in. Star and Marco choose to stay in the collapsing realm of magic together because they don't want to return to Muni or Earth without a way to ever see each other again. Although the realm splits them back into their original dimensions, a crazy rainbow portal opens between Marco and Star's homes and fuses Muni and Earth together. Okay, cool. So how did that happen? If you're a diehard Star fan, you probably already picked up on the general gist based on the episode title. Remember when Glossaryx said this?
Cleaved. Now that's a funny word. You can cleave something apart, or you can cleave something together.
We all know that the last time something cleaved, it was when the Crystal and Star's wand split apart, and one half formed a new magic wand on its own. Naturally, most Star fans have assumed for a while that the next instance of cleavage would enact the second part of Glossaryx's definition. So, as the episode itself was titled Cleaved, I think we all had a pretty good idea that Muni and Earth would come together somehow. I started to really get the hint that something would link these two dimensions after the episode where Star, Jana, Marco, Tom, and Oscar discover the earthly link to the magic realm in the basement of Bria's Tacos. Although they never went into a super in-depth explanation about it, fans have been speculating for a while that Mumins came from humans, and this portal link basically confirmed that. But I honestly thought that the Mumins were going to have to save the humans from Mina and the Solarian warriors, or that maybe Star would end up finding a way to create a permanent portal to connect the two. I just didn't expect that the two dimensions would completely physically fuse. How did this fusion work exactly? Did all of Muni transfer to all of Earth? Or is there just a giant window in between the two dimensions where the portal cleaved them together? So how did that all go down? My theory is that it's all to do with Star and Marco's love, baby. When they were trapped in the collapsing realm of magic, both of them confessed that they didn't care which dimension they ended up in, as long as they ended up together. Because their love was so strong, the realm of magic couldn't decide which dimension to sort them in. So, Star and Marco were sent to the only place it made sense to send them, a cleaved dimension where they physically and emotionally belonged. It was like the Big Bang, but with romance and stuff. Personally, I had mixed feelings about the ending. On one hand, it was so freaking cute. I'm not gonna lie, I definitely cried when Marco was racing towards the portal on Jackie Lynn Thomas's skateboard and Star was punching out Audrey too from Little Shop of Horrors just to be with each other again. I've always been a Starco shipper, y'all. Number 8. Was that the best use of Ludo? My next question is, why the heck wasn't Ludo in the finale more? We saw him for like 0.2 seconds at the very, very end. I know his main story arc ended a while ago, but he was way too important a character to not get a proper farewell. Actually, most of my favorite characters barely got a wrap-up. Just because you gave me queer Jackie Lynn Thomas doesn't mean you get to gloss over saying goodbye to everyone else I love. Maybe I'm biased because the Adventure Time series finale did a perfect job tying a neat little bow on all my favorites, but at the same time, I'm disappointed that Star didn't give me that same sense of satisfaction. I barely know what's happening to most of the protagonists in the aftermath of Earth and Muni's fusion. Can't you at least give Ludo of all people a better end? Number 7. Did Star commit magic genocide? And speaking of unanswered questions about my favorite characters, what the hell happened to everyone when Star and the other queens destroyed magic? Did everyone just die? Like, the obvious big ones are Glossaric and the Magic High Commission, but I'm also really worried about what happened to all of Star's spells and laser puppies. Did the queens basically just Thanos a bunch of the best characters on the show with no hope of ever seeing them again? I'm sorry, but I didn't come to the Disney Channel to watch a goddamn mass genocide of magical creatures. If these characters didn't really die, where did they go? I know that they had that whole scene where Ponyhead and Star tried to imagine where all of their friends were now, but even those fantasies featured Romulus and Amatraxus lying dead in the banquet hall. It seems like they truly were just wiped from existence, and that's some Infinity War BS right there. I'm not so sure if I morally agree with destroying half of everyone on Muni, even if some of those beings were purely made of magic. They were beloved characters! We don't even get the comfort of knowing they're off in other dimensions doing their own thing like we do with Kelly and Talon. I know that this was the end of the series, but I still care about those characters, and I want to know what happened beyond just, oh yeah, they poofed out of existence. Maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like Star destroyed all of the magic to kill thousands of entities and save like maybe a couple hundred humans and monsters. Number 6. Why was this episode so dark? Are we going to talk about how dark this episode was? Like how the skull of the firstborn just washes up at Star's feet and she never even freaks out? She just spent an entire episode calling the firstborn her daughter. After she eats the pudding, how is she not like, ah, dead unicorn skull? I know that we're in dire straits here, but you can't just ignore a dead unicorn. And speaking of unicorn things you probably shouldn't ignore, what's with Marco getting gored by the dark unicorn? I definitely thought that something was going to come of that, like that Star was going to have to choose between healing the hole in his abdomen and destroying all magic to save the humans or whatever. Instead, he just gets stabbed, zips up his sweatshirt over it, and nothing bad happens at all. I don't know, man. I kind of assumed that getting stabbed by a dark unicorn would have turned him dark, which would have been the perfect time to bring back his monster arm. Remember how that was foreshadowed to come up again?
Monster Arm said he'd be back. That's nothing to worry about, right?
Probably not.
Nah, totally didn't mention it at all. So Marco's Mumin cheeks get a shout out in the finale, but not his cool-ass monster arm? Why? Also, I can only assume that after Mina is robbed of her powers, she goes back to being an old crazy lady, wanders into the woods, and dies. Just look at those hollow cheekbones! She's just gonna slowly Mother Gothel her way to a pile of ashes without magic to keep going. Why did so many characters just straight up die on this show? Number 5. Why didn't Mina cool off after seeing Solaria? Speaking of Mina, why did she run off into the woods like that? I get the whole speech she gave about how even if she's gone, her lame ideas about racism and classism in Muni would always be in the hearts of a-holes everywhere. But why was she still so devoted to the name of Queen Solaria?
We swore our oath to Queen Solaria!
Solaria completely snubbed her in the magic realm. She was like, yo girl, I see what you're doing, but now that I'm dead, I can see that this is all totally Mumin supremacist of you. In what world would Mina still be so devoted to carrying out Solaria's original plan? I get that once you've gone too far, there's no way you can just admit that you're wrong and turn over a new leaf immediately, but it still felt pretty weird that she's such a diehard Solaria stan. Number 4. Would Glossaric actually be okay with destroying magic? My next question is, why the heck was Glossaric so chill with all of magic being destroyed? What was his story arc even supposed to be? All of his goals along the way seem to be the following: teaching Star how to use magic, helping Star mature, and making sure that the magical legacy was carried on. How do any of those character motivations coexist with his acceptance of Star destroying all magic? If his goal was to help her destroy magic all along, why did he place so much value on Meteora learning how to dip down? Didn't he say that he felt good about the future of magic being in her hands?
I think magic's in pretty good hands.
I've seen some fans supposing that Glossaric knew that Earth and Muni were fused together a long time ago, and that maybe he'd been working to get the two dimensions to cleave back together all along. That could be true, but if so, it feels really rushed and only half explained in the finale. It also really bummed me out that Toffee and Glosseret confirmed that defeating Toffee had been worth nothing after all, because eliminating magic was the right thing to do all along.
Surprise!
What? That was only the entire plot of the first 2.5 seasons. So I'm just supposed to accept that all of that fighting was meaningless? Gah! Number 3. Moon got off easy, right? At the end of the episode, Star hugs and forgives her mother for being the catalyst to a race war between monsters and humans. But what about the rest of the dimension? Did Star even think about that before hitting the delete button on the magic powers that could save them if literally everyone on Earth and Muni decides to hate Queen Moon? Don't forget, Queen Moon not only started a segregated anti-monster camp with the humans who rathered not mingle with the other race, but she also gave Romulus the orders to free Globgor so that she would have an actual reason to wage war against Eclipsa and her family. And she employed Mina to resurrect the Solaria soldiers that killed and wounded a ton of magical entities. Moon, kind of became a huge villain. How is everyone supposed to go back to being cool with her now? Number 2. What will Star do without her powers? Call me a hater, but I don't think Star's gonna last very long without her powers. Girlfriend made the decision to eliminate the thing that made her able to party hop across the multiverse, save innocent creatures in other dimensions, and do her hair in the morning. I'm sorry, but that's like switching from an iPhone to hieroglyphics on a cave wall. Pony had barely survived St. Olga's without her interdimensional scissors, and Star couldn't last 5 minutes on Earth without tricking out her bedroom at the Diaz's into a gigantic royal tower. Face it, dude, you're not gonna be happy without your powers. Did you have to destroy all of them? Number 1. Was destroying magic actually a solution? This brings me to my last big question for the episode. Should magic even be destroyed? Based on everything else I saw in this episode, I'm not so sure if I agree with Star and Toffee and the Queens. Why should Star and her family get to decide the fate of the entire multiverse like that? Surely there were major repercussions for collapsing every dimensional portal, and there's no way that there weren't millions of casualties across time and space. I know I already talked ad nauseum about why a mass murder of countless magical creatures is pretty messed up, but let me say it again. That's pretty messed up. Who are they to decide who lives and who dies? Who are they to decide that everyone gets robbed of their magic powers? I want to know about the fallout from this. What's going to happen to everyone that Romulus crystallized? Are they all just totally loose now? Presumably some are actually bad guys. How are Ponyhead and her people going to stay afloat? Are Tom's demon powers still going to work, or are they a separate thing? Are all monster magic powers a separate thing? Because if not, a lot of creatures are going to be very inconvenienced by this magic zap. How are the relations going to work now between monsters, humans, and Earth humans? So far, everyone we've seen in this new reality is fleeing in terror from the people groups they're most afraid of. People on Earth have a hard enough time dealing with one another as it is. How the heck are they going to suddenly handle monsters and humans and former magic royalty running around on their planet? To piggyback on that, is destroying all magic really the solution to solve monster-human racism? My vote is a big no. Just because magic isn't there doesn't mean that all those anti-monster a-holes are gonna finally lighten up and play around a cornball with their new monster friends. Like Mina said before she ran into the forest, getting rid of magic or getting rid of a specific person isn't gonna eliminate all the awful tension on Muni. Was there really no way to stop Mina's army and retain their powers for future good? Honestly, I feel like disarming themselves completely is just kind of asking for another war to begin, just with less protection. I mean, I guess it's pretty fair if no one at all can use magic, but I also can't imagine a fist fight between a human and a monster ending well for the human in any situation. There has to be a way to solve the problem of unregulated strong magic like Eclipsa's nameless spell without permanently dusting the Narwhal Blast. Destroying all magic in the multiverse honestly presented even more serious problems for the new Earth Muni mashup realm. But hey, maybe some of those issues we're having will be solved in an upcoming comic series or a film revival in another 10 years. Don't get me wrong, I really love this show with all my heart, and not all aspects of the finale were weird and full of plot holes. There were so many things I loved about this episode, and we can totally talk about that. But I also want to hear your opinion on the series finale, and your theories about the open end of the show. Do you think Glosseric and the others are really dead, or simply banished to an unknown dimension that we might never know about? Is it unsettling to you that the Queens just snapped half of existence out of the multiverse? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll be back next week to ruin your childhood.